Welcome into Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com. What's good? What's good, everybody out there? Coming to you live here on a Friday night. Happy hour. Winding down. You can wear the hoodie. Actually, it's hoodie weather outside, so you can sit back, relax. Some changes to the office this week. You see in the background, see the MVP back there? You see him? Josh Allen? Bills Mafia right there. Ride it out. I got small tickets here on the MVP for Josh Allen to start the season, as well as the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC and the Super Bowl. We'll see how that plays out throughout the regular season and into the playoffs. But today, as I like to do here every Friday, meet with the good people out there so we get this little NFL show and sort of a recap of the week, what we're looking at for this weekend, and numbers that we have fired on already. So I'm excited. I like this card, and I think it's going to be pretty decent here. So why don't we get down to business and have some fun out here? Let me just put up the chat box here. Where are we at? Private chat? No. There we go. All right. Hey, what's up, Drew? What's good, my good people out here? So we're broadcasting on a couple of different platforms here as well. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and getting it out to as many people as possible. I know also Friday night, a lot of people are working, so they like to watch this show over the weekend. Thank you guys also for supporting it as well. Have a lot of fun doing these and just catching up and making sure everything, we have our P's and Q's here, getting after it. All right, let's take a look. Now, the one thing that you guys know I do love here on Fridays, in particular the weekends, they haven't shown up just yet here. I use props through the FanDuel Sportsbook for the most time. Having a great couple weeks on props, having a lot of fun. Yesterday could have been an enormously big night if Mike White had played. We had the 12-1 queued up on Mike White to throw a touchdown in the first half and the second half along with Carson Wentz. Wentz and White did it in the first half, but obviously White got hurt, so second half sort of went on. He had 3 touchdown passes, I believe, or 3 touchdowns scored by the Jets in the second half. It's a shame they don't just transfer over at that point and say, hey, quarterback got hurt, just hand it over to the backup. But we know you can't do that. But it was going to be a really big night. Ended up losing a little bit of money. Could have been worse with the Mike White injury, but Carson Wentz did throw a touchdown in the first half and the second half, so we cashed in a plus 165 on that, and then also hit the odds boost where both teams would score a touchdown in both halves. That one came in at well over 200, so at least we were able to salvage it. But boy, it would have been a lot. I always like that when you bet a little bit of money with a chance to win a lot. Last night certainly was that deal. Now, getting to the weekly specials here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. You guys know I love these. There are a lot of lottery tickets, but if you pick and choose the right ones here that make a lot of sense, you can take down some pretty good prices, 2-1, 3-1, 5-1. We took an 18-1 down just a few weeks ago. They do have like the first touchdown scores of the weekend up. I'm not really into that. Highest scoring game of the week. It's not a bad option. The one that both myself and Kevin really dig into, though, is the highest scoring and the lowest scoring teams of the week. I think you can make some pretty good money on those for the simple fact is you're getting big numbers. Like the Buffalo Bills to go up against the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Highest scoring team of the week. The Bills are the favorite. But usually when you hear a favorite, it's minus 160, minus 150, plus 100, plus 650. Plus 650 for the Bills to score the most points this week. Rams at 7-1, Cowboys at 9-1, Baltimore Ravens 10-1, Chiefs at 10-1, and the Chargers at 14-1 going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Start 2, Javonte Williams, Darrell Williams, Rashad Bateman, and Carlos Hyde. Man, probably the first 2 for me. That's tough, though. Moner. It's a tough little lineup there to try to differentiate and cash in on something with those guys in fantasy. All right, lowest scoring game of the week, obviously, but the same thing also pertains. How about this one? Very rarely that you see this, right, guys? The highest scoring team of the week listed as a favorite, the Buffalo Bills at plus 650. The lowest scoring team of the week, same game, Jacksonville Jaguars at a plus 650 number. That's interesting. What's up, Akbar? How you doing, brother? Carolina Panthers 10-1, Atlanta Falcons lowest scoring team 10-1, Houston Texans 11-1, Denver Broncos 12-1. It's like they're big. How about this? You didn't think you would see this, right? Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Green Bay Packers. Kansas City Chiefs have a terrible defense, absolutely wretched. But you look at the Green Bay Packers, 6th in line in the NFL to have the lowest scoring week at a 12-1 price. That's ridiculous. Green Bay is going to be able to move the football against Kansas City. They will. I don't know if they're going to be able to win the game, obviously, with a backup quarterback, but they should do okay. All right, now, let's keep sliding down here. Most passing yards of the week, most rushing yards of the week, most receiving yards of the week. I mean, there are lottery tickets on there, but there's no really foundation. But last week when we were doing the show, I believe the last 2 weeks we were doing the show, we actually had a chance to take a look at those red zone specials And they're the good ones here. Touchdowns at 1 o'clock, touchdowns at 4 o'clock, one passing, one touchdown, all that good stuff. They haven't released those yet. But you guys know when I have something that's ready to go, I like to share as much as possible. Sometimes I can't get it out if I'm doing the radio show on time because I'm live on the air. But you guys know I try to take care of as many things ahead. Hey, what do you got coming out? Or, hey, Donnie, what are you betting tonight? You guys know I love to post tickets out there just so you see exactly what I'm cheering on. And a lot of times, they're not for a lot of money, $50 tickets, $100 tickets. Sometimes I'll bet a little bit more on my team totals here on the side as well. But, man of the people, we just love to have some fun here. What's up, Ferris? I love it. I love to have fun. And it's a lot more because most of you guys know me from way back here. I mean, I've been on Twitter for a long time, been doing shows on different networks for a long time here. But also, I still have rightwager.com, which that used to supplement my income by selling picks. And it's fun. Made some good money on those. But it's a lot more fun when I'm not restricted on these shows. And I can come on and talk to you guys on a Friday night and tell you exactly what I'm on the moment I got it. When you have clients and, paid subscribers, you can't say, hey, look, the game I'm on this weekend, so-and-so with this team total number. I can't give that out because then what would you pay for the information? So I do enjoy this a lot. Now, also, let's start the show by saying right away here, I did fire on a team total, and I really like this one a lot. And you guys know the sports books that I usually peruse here, right? FanDuel, I don't bet a lot of team totals on FanDuel because I like the alt team total lines. So when you're looking at that, there's three main books that I like to use. That's Caesars, that's BetMGM, and that's also Fox Bet. And typically, the ones that I like the most here are Caesars. They usually give you a decent price that you can slide that little knob back and forth to see if you can get an advantageous price or what you're willing to pay for it. Same thing with Fox Bet and same thing with BetMGM. But a lot of the times on BetMGM and Fox Bet, you don't get the even numbers. And you do get that on Caesars. Case in point, on the big board today. Already shot it out on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, at RightSideVP, whenever I fire out a rager, you'll get it there. Vikings team total over 20 at minus 150. That's a lot. That's a lot of juice here. Trust me on this stuff here. Like, I know what I'm doing. 11-4 on the season. But to be honest, there's only one game this year, which is big. I already saved myself one game where I would have lost, but since I had a better number, I won. So those are big deals here. And I also had one of those with a push as well. So 11-4 on the season. Vikings team total over 20, minus 150 against the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to break that further to let you guys know exactly what I was looking at that and why I fired on that game here. All right, let's take a look here. 451, 452, Houston and Miami. Tyrod Taylor, Tua Tagovailoa this weekend. Tyrod Taylor is back. Yes. Did the Houston Texans look really good in their first game where they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars with Tyrod Taylor? Yes, they did. Again, it was Jacksonville Jaguars. Game 2, Tyrod looked pretty good for about a quarter and a half or right before halftime. I believe he got hurt in that game against the Cleveland Browns on the road. They were hanging around in that football game. After that, and Tyrod Taylor went out, they were horrendous. They are a horrendous football team. Now, Tyrod Taylor is coming back. That's good, right? Should be good. That doesn't help their defense, man. Their defense is absolutely wretched. Now, let's start to preface and put some of these things in context of what we're looking at. When Houston is playing a really good offense, particularly Houston's defense, they can't stop anybody. Am I saying they're going to stop the Miami Dolphins? Not necessarily, but let's take a look at some of the advantages in this game. The Miami Dolphins, they're more talented than Houston overall. They are. They have a better defense than Houston overall. Might not seem like it at times, but you can only grade it based on talent. Look at the offense, though. Average running backs here in Miami. Tua Tagovailoa coming into this game with an injury to his throwing hand, or throwing from one of his fingers, of also banged up rib cage he's coming off of as well a couple weeks ago. Devontae Parker is now placed on IR. He's not playing. So then you say, hey, how about Will Fuller? Is he back yet? Will Fuller's basically taking the year off stealing money down there in Miami. He's got a banged up finger, eligible to come off the IR, still hasn't been able to play, which leaves Jalen Waddle, who's a really good wide receiver. He's just a young guy, though, and now he's expected to be the lead dog. One of those teams with the Miami Dolphins that I like to say is I have been waiting for a while for them to actually get fully healthy, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Look at Devontae Adams, right? Take a look at Devontae Adams. Why he's on a franchise, 1-year deal here. Why is he going to play hard the rest of the year when this team is going nowhere? More of a business move. Like, hey, my shoulder's banged up. Throw me on IR. Give me a little respect here so I don't have to keep on running out here and damaging myself to get to free agency. But look at the line here. Opened up at 7 at FanDuel. Pinnacle Offshore opened up at 7 as well. Now, there's two different numbers here that are showing that. Pinnacle still showing a 6.5 years of favorite towards the Miami Dolphins. 5.5 at FanDuel, 5.5 Bet365, 5.5 at DraftKings here. Over under opened up at 45.5, now sits at 46 at FanDuel. Offshore Pinnacle, 45.5. This was one of those games where you're looking at early on, maybe a week and a half going, okay, Tua Tagovailoa is going to come back in this game. I'm going to be able to press the button here on a team total for the Miami Dolphins, but that's not really the case. Let's just shift it over here to Bet365 to see what we have listed. Houston, Texans in this game at 19.5 at -125, which is a decent price here. It's a decent price. Anytime you get something under 20, 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals wins that. That's pretty good. Now let's flip it over to the Miami Dolphins perspective. They're not getting a lot of, lowered expectations here, even though Tua is banged up. They basically have thrown up the white flag. Not very, very many wide receivers in this one, but you're just saying Houston Texans defense is so bad, but the Miami Dolphins here sit at 26.5. Not really sure about that one. So this is one of those games I won't have any money on, but a couple weeks ago, guys, I was really looking to probably tee this one up and say, you know what? I think Miami can do some job. I think Miami can do some damage in this one. Laying points with Miami is exotic. Yeah, it is. Like, they're favored by basically a touchdown, right? Where do they get off? But then again, that shows you how bad the Houston Texans are. But now, having said that, again, Tyrod Taylor's quarterback here. They got a veteran guy. He should be able to move the football. But the question is he rusty? Is he picking up right where he left off? And I did like the fact that it didn't rush him back immediately when he was off the IR to get back in there and play. Why? Because Houston's not going anywhere this year anyway at this point. So Tyrod seems to be fully healthy in this one, but it's one I'm going to go nowhere near. Let's take a look at game 2 here. 1 o'clock, 4:53, 4:54. That is Denver and Dallas. Teddy Bridgewater going on to take on the Dallas Cowboys. This game seems like it's starting to be a runaway a little bit here. 7.5 opening number at FanDuel. That now sits at 9.5. I got 10s at Bet365, 10s at DraftKings, 10s at PointsBet. Pinnacle opened up at 8.5. They now sit at -10 here. Over under in this game opened up at 49.5 at FanDuel. Now sits at 48.5. So you do have some movement in that direction. I do think there's going to be points in this game, but you have to watch out. This year more than any other year, and I'll say this, multiple times, sometimes you really have to watch the Friday practice reports and then also those Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, 5 a.m. tweets on Sunday, with who's expected to play and not. Now, as I say that, the Dallas Cowboys are really banged up in this football game, particularly at wide receiver, and also you could say quarterback. They sacked Dak Prescott last weekend versus the Minnesota Vikings through an abundance of caution, which was the right move. They're going to win the NFC East. The main cog there is Dak Prescott. You need him healthy for the entire season, particularly for the playoffs. Sat him out. They actually won. That was a plus in their column, going on the road with Cooper Rush and beating the Vikings. But now you're going to take a look at CeeDee Lamb banged up, Amari Cooper banged up, Michael Gallup banged up, Dak Prescott seemingly with a calf that's iffy at the best here. Iffy at the best. But also, taking a look at the Denver Broncos and what they bring to the table. Let's just take a look here. I'm going to look at the depth chart here of how they match up in this game. So I'm going to slide it around. Let's go Broncos and Cowboys, because what I want to do is bring up the qualifications here on why, if you were betting the Denver Broncos, why it might make a little bit of sense here. Let's take a look. All right. Now, Dallas Cowboys defense, okay. Nothing special to write home about. Middling in the NFL. Maybe top 15, you could say. Should be able to rush the passer here. I do think Bowles is out this weekend. So that could be trouble here at left tackle for the Denver Broncos. And let me just bring up to see if I have the final practice report today, if it is reporting back. But I do believe Bowles is out. So let's go Denver. All right, Friday practice report is in. Garrett Bowles is out. So ankle injury, didn't practice all weekend long. He is their best offensive lineman, so he's not going to play. So that's going to help the Dallas pass rush. Micah Parsons maybe getting after it here. Randy Gregory. So there are some options to rush the passer. Everybody else looks like offensively. Glasgow, the offensive guard, he had limited practice all week, which means he's probably going to go in this game. Let's see. And everybody else in the offensive line should be okay here. So one guy out, Garrett Bowles. Graham Glasgow, he should play this weekend. But everybody else pretty much healthy. Now, here's the interesting part here. Teddy Bridgewater is an okay quarterback. Not a great quarterback here. Not a great one. Williams in the backfield certainly can be capable. You got decent tight ends here. And by the way, I believe also, let me just do a quick update because I want to see, assuming something on Noah. Let's say Noah Fant. All right, let me just bring up a quick search here. Let me make sure I'm not giving out any bad information at this point here. Not sure. Noah Fant. Let's just see. I don't see anything coming back here. So I do assume that he should be eligible. If I'm getting this wrong, somebody hit that chat box out here. Let's see. Because I do think he is Okay, there we go. Out. Oh, all right. So I'm getting the reply. I knew I was right on this one. Noah Fant not expected to play against the Cowboys. Okay, so take that out of the equation. Still a decent backup tight end they have. Now take a look at the starting wide receivers on this team. Tim Patrick, very good wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, another week back from that ankle injury, and Courtland Sutton on the outside. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. Now, when you're saying to yourself, can the Denver Broncos go down to beat the Dallas Cowboys? I don't think they can. And I'm not saying they are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. But at the same time, you're looking at a team total here that you're probably 18.5 minus 120 on the Denver Broncos. You should be able to score on this defense. As I said, the defense for the Dallas Cowboys isn't very good overall. The offense for the Cowboys, if they're healthy, and that is a big if in this one, it really is, because they're coming in with a lot of broken pieces here to try to get after it. The one thing that does worry me about the Denver offense, it should be better than what it's been posting, at least over the past 2 weeks. You take a look against Cleveland, 41 yards on the ground, 182 in the air. That's unacceptable. Against Washington, which they did win 17-10, 83 yards on the ground and 190 through the air. But at the same time, we're not talking about winning the game for the Green Bay Packers, for the Denver Broncos. They don't even really have to be competitive in this game. You just have to get to 20 points and you're going to cash a ticket here. Like last week, they were terrible on offense, still scored 17. Terrible the week before on the road, still scored 14. Sometimes all you can ask for is a legitimate chance to cover that number. And the one thing I would love to see, if the Dallas Cowboys came in healthy, all wide receivers lined up, Dak Prescott looking like a machine out there, that would be wonderful, because that means the Dallas Cowboys would be pushing 30 points, which means the Denver Broncos would have some opportunities to score late in that game when the game has already been decided, when they've already been decided here. So just an interesting angle to look at, but also you have to take a look at Denver and what they're playing for at this point. Probably not much. When your front office comes out and says, we're going to trade away Von Miller, but hey, good luck out there, guys. We still think you guys can compete. You know they can't compete. You know they're not making the playoffs at this point. So basically, rudderless in the ocean, as I like to say, for the Denver Broncos. But that's why team totals are so fascinating. Who cares if they get blown out in this game? Nobody cares. Unless obviously you bet it on a straight wager and you take them getting 9.5 or 10 points. But all you need them to do is get to 20 points in this game. Are you worried about weather? No, don't. Fast track. And again, as I said, if the Dallas Cowboys come healthy in this game, that is fantastic for the Denver Broncos team total. Now, sometimes it's very hard to actually get out there and bet Teddy Bridgewater. It's basically in the last 2 weeks. I understand that. But I do have that game circled on my board today when I was putting some of these numbers together here. Broncos were 18 at minus 130 at Caesars. MGM had them at 17.5. 17.5 at minus 130. Think about that. So if that line continues to go up, and you're going to tell me that let's just say bet MGM or even Caesars, I'm going to be able to get a 17 at like a 140 price? Come on now, man. Come on now. Man. I mean, that makes you think a little bit here. That's why I have it circled. Do I love the Denver Broncos? No. But can they get to 17 points? You goddamn right they can. All right, Minnesota and Baltimore. Fired on this game already. Love it. Minnesota, get after it in this game. Tough performance against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night. There's way too much talent on this team to be slowed down. But also keep in mind, Dallas not putting up a lot of points last week. So you don't have a running mate. Should get a running mate this week. You're looking at a rested Baltimore team that is healthy. You're also looking at a horrendous pass defense for the Baltimore Ravens. On the season, 296 yards per game they've given up in the air, 7.8 yards per attempt. Kirk Cousins coming to town. Not a great primetime guy. Do you need him to win a big game in the playoffs? Probably can't do it. But you know where Kirk's really good? In the regular season. Kirk is a stack compiler here. And when you take a look at just getting to 20 points for that free roll, seems like a no-brainer for me. I got another week healthier for Dalvin Cook. Another week there for, Thielen to work in his way, work his magic. Jefferson to work his magic. Kirk Cousins should be all right in this game. And as I said, the defense here, average at best for the Baltimore Ravens. Pro Football Focus has them rated, 21 in the NFL? Take that all day long, man. Take that all day long. All day long. So the three numbers here out there, if you were trying to spread it around between Caesars, MGM, and Fox, I like the 20 number. And I know a lot of people message me, hey, Donnie, what's up with 21 or 20.5 at that point? Trust me. When I give out a play, and it's the Vikings at 20 minus 150, it's really rare that they both go down. Like, I have them to score around that 24-point range down in Baltimore. So when you see me put out a play, and if you for some reason don't have access to Caesars or MGM, which are massive sports books in just as many states as any other ones, go ahead and fire on it. It's going to cover. It's going to come in. We're going to really chew on this one. And Drew says over 50 looks good. It does look good in this game because I do think Baltimore getting a little bit healthier at wide receiver also. Sammy Watkins supposed to play in this game. Rashard Bateman possibly coming back and playing in this game. They should be able to move the football along with the Vikings. Always love to have the running mate here. I would love it if, the Baltimore Ravens were up 21-3 at the end of the first quarter. No, Donnie, they only got 3, but who cares? Blow Minnesota out. Who cares? Give me the 20 points for that free roll, and we'll let that slide here. But I really like this game, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Kirk Cousins should be able to move the football. Good wide receivers, great tailback. No real weather conditions to worry about here. About 10-mile-an-hour winds down in Baltimore, mid-50s there. Perfect weather here for that game to probably go over the 50 points as well. But Minnesota's going to cover that and get that 20, which is already locked in. Tickets sent out there on Twitter. Over 20 minus 150. We're going to eat pretty good on that game. Let's keep moving down the list here. See other gems that we can uncover. New England and Carolina. Really not decided on who's going to start this game because it looks like Sam Darnold, the shoulder injury, concussions, not playing that well. Christian McCaffrey returned to practice this week. Are you forcing him back up only to be out another 6 to 7 weeks with a hamstring injury? If he does make an appearance in this game, how effective will he be and how long will he play? FanDuel opened up this game at a 2, Pinnacle at 2.5. They're all gone here. 3.5s and 4s are across the board. Does it make you want to jump in right away and take New England? Not necessarily, but ask yourself this question. And it's the number one rule in handicapping out here. Number one for me. Don't outsmart yourself. Don't do it. Sure, they won last week, right? 19-13 over the Atlanta Falcons. I understand that. New England back-to-back road games with a rookie quarterback. I get it. It's a nice win, by the way. They dropped 54 points on the Jets, then go out west, beat the Chargers, then come back east here and play Carolina. Good defense on Carolina, though. No question. That's why that total is listed at 41 across the board. But again, no way, shape, or form did I start to try to build a profile on the Carolina Panthers this week to go out win this football game at cover. The only issue is now that you're no longer dealing with the 2s or the 2.5s or the 3s, and you're dealing with the 3.5s and the 4s, which means if you have that 4-point number, you need New England to win by 7 on the road. Now, if they win the game, there's a really good chance they're going to win by 7 or more. But in a low total game of 41, every point matters. 1 interception matters. 1 fumble, 1 missed field goal, 1 extra point. That all adds up in this spot. So not in love with either side of that game. But I can see the point is, if you're just saying, Donnie, I'm taking New England here because I just don't trust Carolina, I can't even argue with that at this point. I really can't. Buffalo and Jacksonville, 459, 460. Heavy ticket count, 81% here on the Buffalo Bills, 95% of the money. FanDuel opened up at 11, now sits at 14.5. 14.5 is primarily across the board. Same bet here at Bet365, DraftKings, PointsBet, Bet Rivers, and also Parks here in Pennsylvania. Pinnacle Offshore opened up a little bit later at 13.5, and they sit at 14.5 now. That's a heavy number to go on the road and win. But it's not as if the Buffalo Bills haven't done that in the past. They beat the Miami Dolphins 35-0 on the road just a few short weeks ago. Last week, they played the Miami Dolphins. That game was tied at 3. At 3 late in the third quarter. They won that game by 15. And if anybody followed last week, one of the very first weekend red zone specials that I put in had the Colts to get 3 touchdowns, the Bengals to get 3 touchdowns, and the Buffalo Bills to get 3 touchdowns. And Josh Allen scored on that last, keeper around the end, which was no real need for it, but there was a really need in my wallet for doing that. So thank you, Josh Allen, for doing that here. But you're taking a look, and we already went over some of those specials that are coming up this weekend. And then we joked about it, right? Buffalo is the highest scoring team of the week, the favorite to do that. The lowest scoring team of the week, the favorite to be that, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can't trust them. How bad were they last week? How bad were the Jaguars versus the Seattle Seahawks? Outrageously poor. Scored, getting blown away in that game. Finally got a touchdown drive late in the game when none of that even mattered. So are you going to be saying, it's too many points? Take that out of your head, man. These double-digit favorites are pounding the hell out of these weakling teams. Buffalo is better at every single position. Quarterback, offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, defensive backs, linebackers, you name it. And the coaching staff. Brian Dable made one of the best 5 play callers in the NFL running that offense. Sean McDermott, the CEO, defensive-minded head coach. Leslie Frazier, a all-world-class defensive coordinator. They should bounce this football team. They really should. Over-under in this game, but can you trust it at 48.5? Because the question isn't if the Buffalo Bills are going to score. It's if the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to score. It's hard to say that, let's take the 14.5 when you could have had something a lot less earlier this week, but it's doing a show on a Friday. Again, is anybody out there trying to build a case for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game? I'm certainly not doing that. 461, 462, Cleveland and Cincinnati. Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow. This line is very interesting. 65% of the tickets going towards the Cincinnati Bengals. Opened up at 2.5. Where do we sit today, guys? Across the board. Even offshore Pinnacle. 2.5. That tells you a lot. And I agree with it. I'm sorry. I like the Cincinnati Bengals. I do. But sometimes we like to say maybe a year ahead of time for them. A year too soon. Maybe ready to win next year as opposed to this year. And here's the reason why I say that. Go out and beat a really good football team on the road with the Baltimore Ravens. But not me being mature enough as a football team and knowing how to win to how to handle that success and then losing a game to the New York Jets on the road. And that's the difference here. People say Baker Mayfield has a lot to prove in this game. I don't see that. Getting asked a lot. He's probably like, man, what a relief Odell Beckham's out of here. I don't have to feed him the ball. He doesn't have to pout. He doesn't have to propose to the kicking net. He doesn't have to wear these fancy cleats in pregame. And we're all trying to work on our, routes in pregame when he's just putting on a circus show in the back of the end zone with one-handed catches that have no meaning in the NFL. It's good to get that circus out of town with Odell Beckham. I think they'll be locked in and loaded here. Running back another week healthier, Nick Chubb. No distractions on the team. I think they can go in there and win this game. I really do. Now, the thought process behind that is, boy, it would be really nice to get that 3. So if you're looking at betting this game and it's a Friday and you want the 3, right, and it's not there, I would wait on it. If it never gets the 3, it just was never meant to be at that point. But I would never take a 2.5 here because what's the difference, right? It goes to 2, 1.5, money coming on that direction. Almost fortifies your plan. Like, yeah, you know what? Money's talking as well. I thought the Cleveland Browns would win this game. Now the line is going lower. Makes sense, right? But then again, it could go to 3. Some late money coming on Cincinnati Bengals. You don't want to be stuck with the 2.5. You want the 3. Go on the road, lose by a field goal. Don't lose any money. That's how it is here, man. Yeah, the Browns teaser from the pick 6. I like that. That's right, Farris. That's my pick 6 contest on the on Sports Grid on the early line. Both myself and Kevin, we pick a couple different things a week, and I did take the Browns at the 8.5. I think they'll keep it lucky. Tita Carl says, Urban Meyer's lucky the rest of the league is going bonkers, and we stop paying attention to his legendary. Hey, look, see the news cycle, man? Everybody always says, like, boy, I hate Twitter. I hate Facebook and social media. Like, if you get a scandal, you get blasted on social media. But the next day, somebody else has a scandal, and they forget all about you. They forget all about you here. But I like the Cleveland Browns in this game. Over under 47. I actually like the under in this game. Division rival here. 2 good running backs, 2 good running games. Keep that clock moving and maybe limit the explosive plays. You're also going to get your Davion Clowney back in this game. So, yeah, good rush on the other side with Garrett or Myles Garrett. And on the other side, Jadeveon Clowney. So it might help a little bit in this game. Las Vegas and the New York Giants, Carr and Jones. Another interesting one. FanDuel opened up at 2.5. That now sits at 3.5. There are some 3s out there with some juice. 3 minus 120 here at DraftKings as a favorite towards Las Vegas. -3, -121 at PointsBet in New Jersey. FanDuel showing at 3.5, -108. The Vegas is a much better team than the Giants. You want to see now how they're actually going to turn around this tragedy and maybe galvanize the team. You already had to deal with John Gruden. Now you have to deal with the Henry Ruggs situation. But their defense is way better than the Giants. It's way better than the Giants. Giants having another COVID/fake/COVID share game. I mean, I don't know what's going on. 13 guys test positive. Now they're negative. Now they're positive. Now they're negative. But it looks like a lot of those guys that tested positive will be playing this week. Another week of Saquon Barkley missing out. Sterling Shepard banged up. It does look like Kenny Golladay, I believe, is expected to play in this game. But we never know with Kenny Golladay on game day what we're going to get. 3 plays, and he's back out again with some hip injury or knee injury at that point. I do think Vegas is a better football team than the Giants. If you can get the 3, I would trust it, but obviously opening up at 2.5, you'd have liked to get it under 3. There's no way I can back the Giants here. I just don't think they're a good football team overall. I don't trust Daniel Jones. He is going to be under a big-time pass rush this week, and I think that's going to affect him quite a bit. Next game I like. I really do like this game. Atlanta and New Orleans. Trevor Siemian is now installed as the starter this weekend, but it looks like Taysom Hill is still going to be playing. Activated. There was no way they're going to start him at quarterback this week, coming off that devastating injury and say, okay, keys are yours here. You want to ease him back into the equation. Red zone packages. We'll see how much they use him on Sunday. Now, we also saw Calvin Ridley's now been placed on the IR. He's going to be out a minimum of 3 weeks. That hurts the Atlanta Falcons. It really does, because it takes that guy that can stretch the field, and you have to worry about him. So you have Pitts running up the middle down the seam, Calvin Ridley on the outside. You have to make a choice. Now you don't have to make a choice. I mean, Russell Gage is going to be blowing you up, but I still think in division, this is a tough game. And the reason why that this opened up at 45.5 as a total on FanDuel and dropped to 41.5, there's not going to be a lot of explosive plays in this game. New Orleans has a very good defense. But if you're looking at from Sean Payton and his MO this year, even with Jameis Winston, it's not really to open up the offense. It's to lean on your defense, hand the football off to Alvin Kamara, keep yourself in the game into the fourth quarter, and then go try to win it at the gun. So if I'm looking at, man, I don't like Atlanta at all. I'm not a big Atlanta guy, but I just see that line at 6 points here. And with Trevor Siemian starting as opposed to Jameis Winston, you get a little bit even less explosive. I think the Atlanta Falcons can hang around in this game. Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles here, 467, 468, 4 o'clock game. Also, guys, remember, it is daylight savings weekend here. Daylight savings. Get the extra hour of sleep, but these 4 o'clock games are going to be pitch black quick, man. It's going to be pitch black quick. Justin Herbert comes into town with a banged-up throwing hand that he says is okay. We saw the Chargers lose to the Patriots last week. Now we take a look at this game with the Philadelphia Eagles, who blew Detroit out of the water. But again, the MO for the Philadelphia Eagles is they can handle their business against bad football teams. They've done it very well. Atlanta Falcons opening day, on the road against the Carolina Panthers, on the road against the Detroit Lions. So they actually have 2 road wins, which is pretty impressive here for a team that only has 3 total at this point, right? So you go through and you say, all right, how can the Philadelphia Eagles be good? How can they compete in this game? Well, the line tells you that they're going to compete because it opened up at 3 at FanDuel. Opened up offshore 2 at Pinnacle. That line now sits 1.5 and some 1s across the board as money's coming in on the Eagles. Why is that? Both starting cornerbacks for the Chargers are down this weekend on a defense that hasn't played all that well overall. But you guys know the way my mind thinks here. Just because you have a bad defense. So let's just say you come in as the Chargers and you play, Drew Barron says, perfect buy low spot on the Chargers and sell high on Philly. Could be here. Here's how the game to me is going to play out. It's matchups, right? It's matchups. Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback in the fourth quarter when games that he has are quite in hand in his direction and when they're out of hand going against him. The Eagles play right up to the gun, which is good. That means coach and staff still has their ear. It's a young football team still trying to win and still trying to learn. But you still need to be able to take advantage of bad defensive tendencies. And if the Chargers are going to come to town down in the secondary, Jalen Hurts, not the greatest passer. Devontae Smith, still a rookie wide receiver. Jalen Reagor, who twisted his ankle and left the game early last week in Detroit, he looks like he's going to play this weekend, but how banged up as that ankle really is. You know, Quez Watkins, a young deep threat, but you get the picture here. Young quarterback, young wide receiving core, good offensive line for the Eagles. You know, no Miles Sanders in the backfield. Howard was a very good running back last week, probably use him a lot more this weekend. But when you're trying to take a look at playing the favorites in this game, the Chargers overall should be a better team, right? Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. There's a lot of really good things to like out there. Keenan Allen in the slot. Those guys should be able to get open and make moves. When you saw last week, you know, you have Jared Goff throwing the football. He's scared to throw it over 5 yards. You can clamp down, and they didn't have very many weapons to deal with. A lot more weapons coming to town in the Chargers in the spot. I am a little bit worried about that cornerback position, but as I said, when you're looking at getting after it with the Philadelphia Eagles, it's not Tampa Bay and Tom Brady with Godwin, Brown, and Evans on the outside saying, oh, you want to be down 2 cornerbacks, watch us abuse you here. You don't have that big-time weapon. You're not the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott and that trio wide receiver. So let's just see if they can take advantage of that. It's a good spot for the Eagles, don't get me wrong, because you're getting the Chargers banged up. You're getting the Chargers on the road here on the East Coast. Team totals here at Bet365. Chargers 24.5, minus 115. So other books, you can buy that down below that number. Philadelphia Eagles already below 24, 23.5, minus 120 there. Interesting game overall. The sharp side and Donnie right side, stone cold Eagles line. Stone cold Eagles line here. All the money coming in on the Chargers, line dropping down. All the red flags are out there that we used to call. So if you're betting the Philadelphia Eagles just based on line movement, what makes sense, they're at home, I hear you on that. But the simple fact is, can you trust the Philadelphia Eagles against a middle-of-the-road team? Because they haven't been able to beat those teams just yet. We'll see if that happens on Sunday. Green Bay and Kansas City, Love versus Mahomes. 7 now back on the board here. And FanDuel opened up at a 2.5. I believe I even sold as low as a -1 at that point with Green Bay. Now it's back up to -7. 7.5s. Actually, looks like 7.5s aren't even available anymore at this point. So they are back to 7. I agree with that move. I do. But the thing is, with Kansas City here, they should be able to score points against Green Bay. The other side that I talk about, the don't outsmart yourself side, really wants to take the Green Bay Packers. I mean, really wants to take the Green Bay Packers. We take a look at the team totals for the Packers. They're under 9. It's 19.5, -125 at Bet365. So you can get under 20. You took a look last week. Like, Daniel Jones stinks at quarterback. The Giants stink on offense. So if they can move the football somewhat on Kansas City, why can't Green Bay? And Jordan Love, I know, hasn't had a lot of time in the NFL to play in games, but he's been around the NFL. Devontae Adams is back. Valdez-Scantling is back. Alan Lazard is back. Adam, Jones is still in the backfield. Dillon is in the back. You have some really good football players and a good offensive line and a good coordinator, which is Matt LaFleur. Is there any reason to believe? Is anybody out there taking a look at this game saying, I got to stay away? Because I see both sides where Green Bay is getting a lot of love in this game. Get it? Pun intended. But are we outsmarting ourselves here? Is this the week the Chiefs finally put it together? If the Chiefs are pressing the issue against the Green Bay Packers, can Green Bay respond with Jordan Love on the back end? But having said that, again, this is the beauty when you take team totals. If you're guessing, I think they can keep within 7. I think they can do some damage. Riddle me this. If the Green Bay Packers score 20 points in this game, it's a really good chance they didn't cover that line, right? 28-20. You won your team total. You lost on the spread. So if you're looking at a 7 and you think the Green Bay Packers can hang within the 7, why are we just not taking the team total here? You don't even have to worry about winning the game at this point. You really don't. So it's just a way to look at that one. Arizona and San Francisco. 60% of the tickets on Arizona. 72% of the money. They open up as a favorite at -3. They now sit at +2, and I agree with this here. George Kittle's back. Wilson might be back at running back. They've been, carrying on here. Eli's been great in that backfield, running wild. But Debo at wide receiver, calf injury, a little bit more banged up than it was last week when he had a good week. So that's something to keep an eye on. But you are getting George Kittle back. Also, from an Arizona perspective, you know who hasn't practiced all week long? DeAndre Hopkins. You know who hasn't practiced all week long? Kyler Murray. So you're telling me in a game, your 2 best players on your football team haven't practiced all week and are game time decisions, which means they're not healthy. Can they gut it out? Maybe. Can DeAndre Hopkins play 3 plays and go sit on the sideline because he hurt his hamstring again? Absolutely. Kyler Murray, who's so electric in the pocket and running around and making plays and extending plays, he can't do that. With Bosa bearing down on him, that's a tough one. I agree with the line movement. San Francisco's going to win. Also took a look at possibly betting that San Francisco team total in this game as well, guys. You take a look at Caesars. This is a little bit early in the afternoon when I was crunching some numbers. 22 at -135. That's not a bad price. Keeping it under 24 at home. BetMGM was 22.5 at -140. And Fox was 22.5 at -133. Obviously keeping it off that key number. I actually like to get these numbers because, I look so far down the road with so many missed extra points here. By the way, Robbie Gould's supposed to come back in this game for San Francisco as well. You take a look at, he won it under 24, but then if you miss an extra point, does it matter? So I almost like those 23s and 22.5s better because it gives you that built-in, if I miss the extra point, I'm not going to lose money in this game. But I do think they absolutely win this one. I think San Francisco is the better football team in this game. And sometimes the injuries, which have really impacted San Francisco, might actually go the other way in this game and help them out quite a bit. But watch those reports coming out over the weekend. Because if it looks like Kyler Murray is hobbling but giving it a go, that's not good enough for me. It really isn't. I'll trust Jimmy Garoppolo over Kyler Murray in this game here. Tennessee and L.A., night game. Tannehill and Stafford. 7-point line across the board. Looks like Julio Jones is going to come back, but A.J. Brown banged up with his knee. They just can't catch a break at wide receiver. And also, you know what they can't catch a break for, who they'd love to have? Derrick Henry in this game, not going to play. But I think that helps the tempo of the game. If you guys are out here taking a look and you like the total in this game, 53, 54 points, 52.5 actually showing up at DraftKings, I think it gets there. The Rams are scoring no matter what happens. Von Miller is questionable for this game. And if I'm reading what they want, the Rams have bigger aspirations than blowing Tennessee out. Can they win the game without Von Miller? Absolutely they can. Matthew Stafford, a little bit ginger this weekend as well, or ginger this week at practice. Questionable for the game. You know he's going to play. They should be able to win this game, and they will win this game. The question is, can they win by 7? Most people will look and say, I'm not betting the Titans without Derrick Henry. I'm not so fast on that one. If you get A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, Ryan Tannehill's a pretty good quarterback. They can throw the football. They might be able to hang around, but at the same time, it's one of those where hanging around and maybe getting that team total a little bit differently here. But just because King Henry is out, sometimes you can galvanize as a team, rally around them, get after it. Do I think Adrian Peterson is going to replace him? Absolutely not. They just need a serviceable running game and lean on Ryan Tannehill, and we'll see what happens in that one. Monday Night Football, we're not going to speak that much on that because you got other shows to go over, and that's quite a ways away. But Justin Fields and Roethlisberger on Monday night. Can't wait to see what the odds boost on FanDuel on that one. Donnie, do you use DraftKings at all? Not really. Sometimes for fantasy. It's the same way, Akbar, I look at. I really like FanDuel because that's where I bet most of my props here. The morning show that we have is sponsored by FanDuel. Easy interface. I know it. I don't really shop props around that much. But no, I don't use DraftKings that much because it's really basically the same thing as FanDuel. They're not giving me the team totals that I like anyway, so I don't really go with them. But I don't mind it. Usually when I bet fantasy football, it used to always be through DraftKings with the Millionaire Maker. So that's the way it is. But that's really what we're talking about this weekend, guys. So 3 plays that I was looking at here so far this week. And these always change. I didn't like that the Philadelphia Eagles team total, which we crushed last week, until later in the week. Tomorrow is my favorite day. I get to sit home all day, read the notes, see what the final lines are, and make some informed decisions. But the one thing I can tell you guys right now, get on that Vikings team total. We're going to have a good time with that on Sunday. They might not win the game. It might not be as easy as the past 2 team totals that we cashed in at, but they're going to get to 20 points plus in this game. We're all going to be able to do some damage in that one. And also, keep in mind, as soon as those weekly specials come out, which are up, but they give us those red zone specials, we're going to fire away on those, man, and have so much fun. There's going to be some big ticket items where you can bet $50 and have a lot of fun on 3 and 4 or 5 and 6 to 1s here to try to cover up your day Sunday. But as always, this is a fun show to do, man. I like to come on Friday. It goes quickly here, but I would stay here with you guys much longer and hang out and, get after it. But the simple fact of the matter is this time I got to get on the radio and pop on for In Play Sports Tonight on Sports Grid Sirius XM channel 159. Build a couple NBA parlays. By the way, tonight, if you are betting the NBA, I'm already in on that odds boost with FanDuel. Julius Randle to get a double-double tonight, boosted to 150. Sign me up on that stuff. But that'll do it for another show here. Little Donnie's NFL breakdown week 9. Thanks again for joining me. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, do so at RightSideVP. If you're still watching the show here and haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, I'll keep doing these throughout the weeks here. So I have a nice little Friday powwow where my mindset is on most of these games here and what I think is going to happen. And also follow me anytime I put something out, man, that I'm betting. You guys will get it as well. So thanks for the support. Appreciate it. Have some fun. Good luck on those wagers this weekend. Let's eat, baby. Let's eat.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com.